So we've got the last one of these pre-season friendlies out in the United States, out of the way now. And what a way to end. Liverpool 3, Manchester United 0. And I've said before that, yes, it is pre-season, but I do think these games have real importance. And I do think it's important for Liverpool to be getting wins and good performances like this together before the new season, because they've got a new manager in charge. It's so important in that situation that you see, reasons to give the players confidence, reasons to believe that they should buy into what the manager's doing, and not just the players. Obviously, they need to see those encouraging signs, but I also think supporters to know that this is worth getting on board with. This manager is doing the right things, and it's going to work. It's going to succeed. It's going to be as good as it was under Jurgen Klopp, maybe even better. And I think what you could say from this tour that Liverpool have been on is that they have had those signs, both supporters and players, that the plan that this manager has come with is a good plan, and it's something that is going to work going forward. I mean, 3 wins out of 3 as a basic starter is a really good starting point, isn't it? But 6 goals scored, just 1 conceded, and of course 2 of those wins as well coming against Premier League opposition, and not just Premier League opposition, but top end Premier League opposition. Obviously Arsenal being up there challenging for the Premier League title the last couple of seasons, and though United are a bit up and down, they have, the Liverpool's biggest rivals, aren't they? And they still always end up in that sort of top half of the Premier League table and qualify for the Champions League the season before last. So I think to get those wins is absolutely massive, really, as I say, for what that can do in terms of confidence. And Liverpool have done that in convincing style for the most part, and also come away with no injuries, no fresh injuries from this tour as well. So everyone looking fit, looking good, playing well. And I just think that is hugely encouraging for Liverpool. I think probably one of the best things about that is that we also saw in and amongst, it wasn't just about the results. We saw, a style of play really starting to show itself. The way that Arne Slot's side play, we were really seeing strong evidence of that. The way that they play through the thirds, the possession style football, but also, I think sometimes in pre-season you can see that the attack can sometimes look a little bit sticky because the players are a bit tired and that rhythm isn't quite there. But I think, despite the fact they've been doing double sessions some days, I actually thought, the attack looked really, really slick at times, which, if this is a pre-season version of the attack, then that is hugely encouraging. And also all the other fundamentals were there as well. The pressing looked really good at times. That aggression is still there, which I think, Liverpool fans may be worried when they heard that Arne Slot is more a possession-based manager, thinking that, that aggression will go out of the game and they won't get to see that. But I think that pressing was clearly still there, but also some of those really quick counters as well. So Liverpool look like they've got various ways in which they can hurt teams. And also, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy counter-attacking football at times. I think some of the most thrilling moments under Jurgen Klopp came through that style of football. So really, really good to know that they've got that in the locker. Now, of course, these games and the results will be quickly forgotten if Liverpool start the new season and the results aren't right, the performances are poor. It's worth noting that. But I do think at the moment all you could hope for from pre-season was some encouragement that Liverpool were going to play well when the real stuff begins. And I think that is what we've seen across this tour, and to end it with a thumping win over your biggest rivals, well, there's not many better ways to end a tour. And I think on the whole, hugely encouraged by what we've seen. Now I'm going to just go deeper into the performance tonight itself, and I think it wasn't absolutely perfect. There are elements that are worthy of criticising. I think Manchester United had a string of opportunities, maybe particularly in the first half as well. But I think what you would say about that is that a lot of it came from Liverpool's mistakes. It wasn't Manchester United carving them open and getting shots on target really easily or anything like that. It was the case that Liverpool were giving the ball away in dangerous areas. And again, I think that has been a little bit of a theme of the tour. I think they do have to sharpen up a little bit around that passing out from the back. It's a lot more intricate than it was under Jurgen Klopp. So the players are getting used to that at the moment. But it is important that they sort that out pretty quickly, because we've seen over these 3 games really, and I think probably more pronounced tonight than any of the other games, that they can pass themselves into trouble. And I think you come to them when the Premier League season starts, you're maybe not going to get away with those because the opposition are going to be sharper. Obviously, I think Arne Slot will be confident that he can do that, that he can, because I think sometimes you look at some of the mistakes he's made, it's been kind of rushing it a little bit rather than, trying to force it a little bit rather than showing patience. That's something I think the players have got to learn a little bit. Obviously under Jurgen Klopp it was a little bit more fast paced, so I think they've got to learn when is the moment to make the little intricate pass. and sort of get a little bit better at that. And actually I thought it was a really good example actually of how they should be doing this and when they pick the right moments. And it involved Caoimhin Kelleher stepping up into the middle of the centre-backs and making a sort of three there. Now the idea behind that is to bait Manchester United's press, to bring it onto them, and they did that really successfully in this particular moment. The press was baited on, and the one player who came out to press basically had to leave Ryan Gravenberch he was previously marked in kind of a 2v1, had to leave him 1v1. So then as soon as the press came onto Liverpool, they worked it to Gravenberch. He had enough time then to just drop of the shoulder. The one player who had stuck around him to try and mark him couldn't commit fully to him because he had other players around him. The little drop of the shoulder worked him even more space. He turned and Liverpool were out. And I thought that was really encouraging signs in terms of that shows that Liverpool are getting it. And they do get it right. They have got it right a lot in this pre-season tour in terms of that playing out from the back. But as I say, it is something that just maybe needs to sharpen up a little bit, because when in the moments when they haven't been able to pass it through the thirds and the press has been a bit better from the opposition, they have given it away and been a bit silly in possession at times. So I think that was something that we really saw today in the performance that I think needs a little bit of work. But as I say, not the only aspect of the performance, loads of other encouraging things. Again, I think, I said about the attack, that has been a theme of the tour, but also particularly these last two games. I thought today, again, they were just constantly threatening Manchester United. When they did get through those thirds and they got into forward positions, they were finding it fairly simple to get there. And when they did, they looked dangerous every time. I mean, it shows that they scored 3 goals, but it was, there were more opportunities to score than that. And there were moments where maybe didn't get a shot off, but they got themselves into great situations and the final pass wasn't right. Again, that is something you think will come and improve with the sharpness coming as we get further through this pre-season, and you can already see the signs of that happening. But I think the fact that they're creating chances at the rate that they are at the moment already, without that sharpness there, missing so many forwards as well, let's not forget that. That is massive for Liverpool, I think, and a really positive sign that was there in the performance today. And as I say, I think we will see further improvements on that front going forward. There's a few individuals I want to go through now because I think they're noteworthy really from this game. I don't want to go through every single player, but I think that these are they tell the story of the game, these players. And I think a good starting point actually is the guy who scored the opening goal, Fabio Carvalho. It's been an interesting one for him. I wrote a piece before this pre-season started saying that the fact that Liverpool have changed to a new manager actually gives him a little bit of bigger opportunity to force his way into the plans for the new season, because I think under Jurgen Klopp his fate was pretty much sealed in terms of there was no place for him in the team. And you've got to say he cannot have done more really, can he, in terms of over this pre-season. Scored goals against Arsenal, goal against Manchester United today, but also played well in both games and looked really, really sharp and dangerous. For a young player there to come in and he's made, I know there's been players missing, so that's given him opportunities, but he's absolutely taken them and shown this manager what he's all about, and also really that he's kind of a fit for Arne Slot's football and looks really good. I still think it's interesting that he's still got that huge problem, hasn't he, with competition for places. Now he revealed earlier this week or last week maybe, that Arne Slot had said that he very much views him as a left winger rather than an attacking midfielder, and his problem there is that there's such competition there, isn't there? Obviously you've got Luis Diaz to come back in. It's Cody Gakpo's preferred position from everything we've seen, particularly when he was at the Euros. He looked so sharp in that position. Diogo Jota can play there. You could even argue that Darwin Núñez can, and also even if one of those players were to leave, say Luis Diaz, Liverpool are clearly looking at Anthony Gordon, aren't they? So I still really struggle to see where Carvalho fits in the long term, but as I say, couldn't really have done more in pre-season. I think the big question now is that enough to keep him around the squad, despite the fact there's such competition in that position he wants to play in, or the manager wants him to play in? Tough to see that one working out for him, but I think at the very least what he's done is made sure that there's going to be an awful lot of suitors for him if he does leave, because I think he's looked sharp as attacking this pre-season and really got his head down and worked hard as well to really sort of work himself into that style of play and really pick it up as quickly as anybody has really shown yet. So I think he's done himself a massive favour in terms of doing that, and quite how that works out for him in terms of his future we will find out over the next couple of weeks or so. But it's an interesting one, another really good performance from him tonight. Another one who I thought was a standout tonight was Caoimhin Kelleher. I mean, I wrote down in my notes here just wow. Manchester United weren't carving Liverpool apart, as I said. They were getting a lot of opportunities from Liverpool, making mistakes, but when they did, they had Caoimhin Kelleher there to bail them out, and some of his saves today, absolutely phenomenal. And it's not just his saves as well. He's so good in every aspect of the play. I mean, I touched on it earlier in the video that his ability on the ball to step up and be almost a third centre-half in possession. He was the extra man in possession for Liverpool constantly that allowed them to play out for the back, and he's so comfortable with the ball at his feet, isn't he? I mean, Jurgen Klopp called him the best number 2 in the Premier League, didn't he? Possibly the best number 2 in world football, and I guess, Arne Slot will maybe be hoping that it stays that way because, for all the talk there is about him being potentially leaving this summer, someone has to actually come in with a bid, and it has to be the right amount of money. Liverpool will not be giving him away. So, Arne Slot may be thinking, can I get a little bit lucky here? Can maybe no clubs come in for him? Maybe, we don't get a bid that we find acceptable. I think he'd absolutely love that because Caoimhin Kelleher looks the perfect fit for his style of football, and it's just been brilliant in this pre-season, but particularly good today. Just wanted to single him out for praise, and as I say, Slot will be having his fingers crossed that no bids come in for Kelleher because he's absolutely brilliant. Another one I thought performed well today as well, just a quick one on him, Mo Salah. There's a few question marks about his sharpness, I think, after the Real Betis game, but he's absolutely looks like he's getting there now. I thought he was, he looks lightning quick as he's ever been. He looks sharp in possession, really lively, and his assist was brilliant as well. Got a huge role to play this season as ever. Probably will end up as Liverpool's top scorer, but he really does look sharp. He looks great and really in form and confident, which is great coming into the season. Now, a couple of other players I want to talk about. Just want to talk about together really Quansah and Konate, and I thought interesting that Konate seemed to struggle more than most in possession today. He's not as bad on the ball as maybe some would make out, but he's not Quansah levels of comfortable in possession, and I think it's interesting. He's not sharp at the moment, so obviously we'll get there, and he needs to work on that, having come back late. But I think it's clear now that Quansah's going to start the season alongside Van Dijk in that defence. I think against the game against Ipswich, it just seems clear to me that Quansah, because he's had that full pre-season, he will start there. And I think if he does that, it's all about can Konate take the jersey off him from that point on. And I think Quansah plays so well at the moment, played well in this tour. He's much more comfortable on the ball with Konate, and I think the drop-off in terms of what they can do defensively is not very big, really, when you look at Quansah's performances. So that's going to be an interesting battle going forward, and I would have Quansah slightly ahead at the moment on the basis of what he's done in pre-season. So that's an interesting battle for the season ahead. I'm really interested to see how that plays out. And another one I want to talk about is Wataru Endo, and I don't think it bodes particularly well for him today again that he wasn't involved from the start. I mean, the fact that Ryan Gravenberch is thrown in ahead of him into that midfield, clear priority is to get minutes in his legs ahead of Endo. And also Trey Nyoni is brought on before Endo as well. Again, I think just shows and feeds into everything I've said on this channel that my understanding is Liverpool absolutely, despite rejecting that bid from Marseille, they're absolutely happy to sell him. And as I said before, my understanding is that Endo wants to stay and fight for his place, but I think that position may weaken if he starts to see that there really are no minutes for him in this season going forward, and he's clearly not a priority in that midfield as far as Slot's concerned. So I thought today another blow really for him in terms of his chances of sticking around, and maybe moves Liverpool a little bit closer to signing an alternative holding midfielder in this role. And just the last individual I wanted to talk about is Nyoni. Obviously, as mentioned there, he came on, and I just think again he looked really sharp. He's had real huge involvement in this pre-season, which I think shows that the new manager, as much as the old one, really massively rates him. And I think he's too slender build-wise to go out on loan yet. I think he'd get eaten up in the Championship, but I still think there's probably minutes for him for Liverpool. In the games where they think they're going to be comfortable, where they're going to have a lot of the ball and it's a bit less about physicality. Definitely in the Cups, I think there are big minutes ahead for Nyoni this season, and he, on the basis of what we've seen in pre-season, he absolutely deserves it. He's a phenomenal talent. Really excited to see where that goes. Now, I'm going to leave it there really and sort of sum up where we're up to. Arne Slot said before the game that he expects the internationals who are remaining now to be back in on Tuesday. So the players will fly back immediately after this game, the players who are on tour. they'll have a day off, and then they'll be back in training with Tuesday, and it should be the full squad altogether. So the likes of Van Dijk, Gakpo, Diaz, Nunes, Joe Gomez, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and McAllister already joined them out on tour, but will be in a full part of training there. And then it's on to, of course, then the final friendlies, checking out how fit these returning internationals are and which ones of those you can squeeze into the team against Ipswich, and also hopefully in those final friendlies an even better idea of what Arne Slot's best team is going to look like. You know, there's so many star players there who are going to surely come into this 11 that he's been putting together as kind of his strongest 11 on tour. So they're going to have a real influence on how this team plays and how it all works. So really, really exciting times, and excited to see how that works. But as I say, I think we've seen encouraging things from this pre-season tour. Really, really good signs that this is going to be a positive change to Liverpool, to this new manager. And so as I say, I think it's really, really exciting. Do let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know about what you thought about the performance against Manchester United. Of course, always great to beat them. And what you thought of the performances across the tour. Are you excited about how things are going to go under Arne Slot? Do let me know. And as ever, if you don't subscribe to the channel, if you can click subscribe, that's always massively helpful. You know, there's so much more to come. There's more friendlies, the transfer updates, because we expect it's going to be busy in August, and it's really starting to ramp up now. So make sure you don't miss those transfer updates. Do subscribe, and as I say, if you can like the video as well, always massively appreciated. So hopefully I'll be back soon now for another transfer update. Surely over the next week or so we'll be getting an update on in terms of potential incomings. Let's hope so. And if we do, I'll be straight back on for that. So hopefully, guys, I'll see you very soon.